Welcome to the Getting Results Inc. podcast. I'm Coach Gino, and alongside is Super Coach, Coach Ken. Coach, how are you today?
Keeping America safe for capitalism. Small
Awesome.
ways, sometimes large ways. And we
Awesome.
survived multiple hurricanes here in the free state of Florida. So even Mother Nature cannot suppress the human spirit.
Yeah, hey, do you want to educate people on what a go bag is?
Well, if you look at my hat, you know what a go bag is.
So we'll leave it at that.
That's only meant for insiders. You should know. All of our Texans out there know what a go bag is.
And for those of you who don't and you want to know, well, then that's a reason to reach out to us and we can have a conversation about it, right?
Yeah, you can even Google it.
There you go.
GOBAG. Go bag.
Love it. All right, cool. Well, today we want to play with the idea that we have been discussing offline, which is freedom is earned, right? And being able to, have a business by design, and talking really about those people who, when they no longer have the man or boss to report to, what happens when you're in that type of situation? How do you execute, and what do you do day to day, and how do you keep moving the needle in the right direction? So does that sound like a good plan, Coach?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's also talk about an interesting concept called brainwashing. Okay, now everybody gets up in arms about brainwashing. Like, people believe that brainwashing is a bad thing. Well, let me iterate a few things. A clean brain is a good brain. Now, the great thing about brainwashing is you got to be clear that you're washing your own brain and nobody else is. Because if somebody else is washing your brain, you may feel a little bit uncomfortable, weird, you're part of the cult, etc. But I want to talk about something about all of you out there, that if you're in charge of your own income, you're not normal. You're abnormal. You're an outlier. Most people actually in the United States have a guaranteed income. They're on a salary. They get 2 to 3% COLA raises each year and they get excited. Or they get a raise by a committee. They go in front of the committee and the committee judges them and casts judgment. Are you a good soldier or not? Are you a good drone or not? They do not have control of their own income. So if you do, hey, I want to acknowledge you because you have something that many people don't have. And what that's called is courage. It takes courage to be in charge of your own income. Now, I'm going to throw a couple stats at you. Right? Now, once again, we're talking about brainwashing, so just listen clearly. I'm going to throw a couple stats at you. So median income of the United States, family of four, is currently $81,000. Which is really good, right? That's a good chunk of change. Okay, now we're going to go back into statistics and physics, not physics, statistics. Just I want to prove a point here. So $81,000 median income. That means half earn more, half earn less. Okay, so if we go one standard deviation to the right, meaning we're going to the right on this particular bell curve, it's 97,000. If we go two standard deviations to the right, it's 113,000. Okay, now keep this in mind. So we go 81, 97, 113. If we go to the left, one standard deviation to the left is 65,000, and another standard deviation to the left is 40,000. So there's a range here from 40,000 to $113,000 a year. And that's roughly about 80% of the entire population of the United States earns between 40 grand and 113. Now, why is this important? Well, this is what's called the mass market, right? This is the mass market. This is what all the advertisers, this is what all the people are marketing to, or the general zeitgeist of the nation is people who earn 40,000 to 113,000. Now, if you earn less than that, then there's a lot of assistance programs, welfare, housing stuff. There's a lot of stuff to help you, help you raise up. But now if you go above it, you get to pay the tax man more. You begin to get this suppression. Now, the reason why I share this, so what this means, if you're earning over $113,000 a year, you are abnormal. You are a mutant, right? You are not like everybody else, but yet You listen to all the same programs, you watch the same TV, you read the same newspapers as the great middle, or shall I say, be a little controversial here, the mediocre middle. Now, is that nice? No, it is not nice, right? But we're not here to be nice. I'm here to get you to think a little bit differently. So if you're an abnormal performer, you're to the right on the bell curve. I
Hmm.
want to share something with you. This is something that's important for all of us to get. You're not normal. You can't act normal. Now, here's a really strange thing about this concept of high performance. Right? High performance. If I asked everybody out there who's listening in Getting Results Land, this is going to sound a little weird, but I've said, okay, if you were a vehicle, who would you be? Would you be an F or a Ferrari? Now, I'm going to bet you most of you guys out there with the camouflage and the gun racks in the back are going to say, I'm an F-150.
150.
Okay, but if you're making 300, 400, 500, 800, 1.2, $3 million a year, guess what? You're not an F-150. You're a high performer. As a matter of fact, you're a Ferrari. You're rare. You're the motive power. Most people don't make as much money as you do, but yet you associate or you're part of society that makes between 40 to 113,000. Now, once again, I'm not trying to poo-poo this. I'm trying to get in your heads that you're not normal. Okay, like you didn't take the safe route. Safe route would have been, hey, I got a good government job, solid 75K a year,
The
guaranteed raises,
benefits.
hell of a benefits package, like a benefit package to die for. But once again, you get those benefit packages for a reason. You pay a price
Mm.
for security. You pay a very large price for security. For security, you're sacrificing opportunity.
Yep.
Okay, because once again, if you're making over that $113,000 and you're in control of your own income, you're in control of achieving the goal. Now, some of the scary parts about being in control of your own income is you're the boss. And sometimes one of the scary things about you being the boss is you're the boss. And sometimes you've had conversations with yourself in the mirror and you've realized, man, you're crazy. Stop telling me what to do. Who are you? What's going on? What do you mean I don't know what to do today? What's going on? Because sometimes there's an internal conversation. And also, too, another bad thing that sometimes we learn from the mediocre middle is that making a lot of money is a bad thing. Greedy, right? That rich people somehow stole, hidden, favored, born into it. All of this substandard language that we're part of, right? But once again, abnormal. So if you want to be way to the right on the bell curve, you got to start thinking and acting differently because high performance also requires high maintenance. Okay. And not only does it require high maintenance, it also takes a level of self-direction because most of your peers don't make anywhere near the amount of money that you do or can. Now, of course, some of you have self-selected into neighborhoods or you're part of private clubs, right? That you're part of us getting results and you're part of the peerage where you're around people who are top performers. And one of the great things about being around top performers is that making a lot of money becomes normal, right? It
Hmm.
becomes normal to be of high level of service and to enjoy the game that cannot be won. So does that make
Got it.
sense so far?
Certainly does. Certainly. So let's tie that into this whole thing about freedom is earned, this whole idea, right? And especially when, you have that freedom, you're earning a whole lot of money, and now maybe you're out on your own. What
It's,
is so let's talk about that. So let's talk about why would someone go out on their own first off? Like what are the benefits of that?
oh, that's a good question. What are the benefits of going out on your own? It really depends. It's a point of reflection of asking yourself, where are you most in alignment? Like, where are you most in alignment and where do you have the environment for your greatest success? Right? And whether you go out on your own, whether you go an independent route, or whether you're in a wirehouse or in a large regional firm, you are still ultimately in control of your income, right? And
Yep.
ultimately in control of your life as well as your business. Now, it's in the firm's best interest to get you to produce as much as you humanly can. Okay, which is cool, right? If I was running firms, I would do the same thing. But one of the things I've noticed over time is that what's even more important than producing as much as you humanly can is that you're in alignment and that you're enjoying the game that you're playing. Because business is a game that can never be won. It's only played. Now, for all of you out there in the firms, maybe you've hit 1 million in production, maybe 2 million, maybe 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 8 million in production, right? Those are really big numbers. But pay attention, just a couple minutes. I bet you if you hit $7 or $8 million in production, some way, somehow, the firm had you at an event that you got to sit next to the guy or the gal doing 15 million in production. Or
Mm.
if you're a $2 million producer, you sat next to the guy or gal who's doing 4 million. Now, was that coincidental? Maybe, maybe, but probably not. Well, why does that happen? Like, why would a firm arrange those things to do? Well, to get you to produce more.
In their
And once
best
again, there's
interest.
right, it's in their best interest. And there's nothing wrong with that. The distinction comes into what is your interest and what is your design. What's most important is your design over everybody else's. Okay. So let's make believe that you're in this role or you're making a good amount of money and now you're a team lead or you have your own shop. Now you're the boss. Okay. Now there's something scary about being the boss is now you have to decide where's the direction of your attention going? Where's the direction of your firm going? And there's a scary thing that happens is that we can look into the void. Like literally, we don't know. So oftentimes when we don't know, we look to the past and say, okay, what worked before? Okay, call out campaigns, seminars, dinners in the library basement with a wholesaler sponsoring plate plate plating
Mm-hmm.
chicken or beef, depending on what your or
Door
vegetarian
knocking.
options, or door knocking or cold calling or doing LinkedIn campaigns, etc. Good news, bad news about all forms of marketing, they all work. Every single form of client acquisition works. And that's great news. And that's also bad news. And why it's bad news is because mass mail campaigns work. They just take a lot of work. As a matter of fact, everything takes a lot of work.
Absolutely.
So what matters is, okay, what's going to work for you and what are you willing to do over time? It's really discerning. What are you willing to do over time? Now, the deeper question is, what are you willing to do over time that's in alignment with your design?
And
So
coach,
if
that's where the design does come into play, right? Like
exponentially,
if you don't have a design, then what are you doing?
well, then you do everything. Then you
Right.
do a hodgepodge of stuff, or you come to these meetings and you're like, man, Mark, this LinkedIn doesn't work, or client referrals don't work, or this doesn't, or you keep changing your modalities instead of figuring out a modality that works for you.
Right. So is that idea of, you keep doing random things, you're gonna get random
Ran-
results.
And there's nothing wrong with random results except that they're random.
They're random.
Like on our coaches call the other day with one of our coaches who's also a great advisor having an issue with getting random referrals or referrals underneath his ability or underneath his
Ideal client. Yeah.
ideal client or complexity level.
Yeah.
And once again, there's nothing wrong with random. It just takes time and attention instead of by design. Like, and that's why I've always been a huge fan of client minimums. Like, what is this the minimum amount of net worth or assets that are investable for you to work with a client? Now, everybody gets a little bit cagey around that because, like, Ken, I don't want to say no to things. Of like, what if it's my best client's grandmother's second cousin from Nevada? Like, how do I say no to them? And I always try to reframe people. It's not about saying no. It's about who do you say yes to? What are you looking for? Right? Because when you seek, ye shall find. Because seeking is finding. If you don't know what you're seeking, you ain't finding.
No doubt. No doubt. And so on this idea of freedom not free, right? So what does that require for someone that is has this freedom and they're trying to move the needle in the direction? Yeah, we have the business by design and things like, but so where does that what's that step for that person? What do they need to
Okay.
do?
Well, it begets a question too, like a little bit of a wrestling match with yourself or with somebody else. Is your business really by design?
Hmm.
Okay. Is it really? Are you clear on who you work with and the promise that you deliver? Right? Are you also clear on your office schedule, the time you work, what your team looks like? And I think a really big concept to sort of wrap our heads around for everybody out there in financial services, 2 points, right? First point is the game of business can never be won, it's only played. There is no winning in business. Like I said earlier, no matter how much money you make, right, you will find a way, or the firm or your friends will find a way to put you in the room with someone who's making three, four, five, 10, 1,000 times more. It always works that way. Okay. So if the game can't be won, right, then the only thing that you get to do is play. And are you playing it well? Okay, how do you know if you're playing the game well? You're engaged. You're excited. You don't have the Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and oh my God, it's Friday. I can't wait for the weekend,
Mm.
right? That you actually like what you do, you get what you do is noble and right, and that you are what you're really doing is making the world a better place through serving your clients. Okay, I think that's it's capitalism. That's what America's about, right? That's what businesses really make other people's lives better. And if you're in a capitalistic society and you're earning money, you're doing it the noble and right thing. Okay, so with all that being said, game can't be won. It's only played, right? So it depends how we're going to play it. Next step is for the individual to decide what is your fundamental business model. Okay, you got to get clear on what is that fundamental model. And for simplicity's sake, let's make believe that there are two models. One is quality, the other one is quantity.
Quantity.
A quality or quantity businesses. Both businesses work. You just got to be clear which your business is because it gets really difficult to mesh the two. So, an example, a quantity business wins by volume, right? It's about volume. And how do companies or individuals win by volume? Through infrastructure and systems. Walmart wins because of logistics, okay? Not because of the client experience. Nobody goes to Walmart for the experience, like hey, let's go hang out and spend some good times in Walmart. Okay. You go to Bass Pro Shop. Okay, Bass Pro Shop is a different experience. Okay,
Right.
you would go to Bass Pro Shop to hang out, to see the fish, to go play with stuff there. It's a different model. Now, notice there are a lot fewer Bass Pro Shops than Walmarts. Now, also, when we think about quality and quantity, so quantity, you get a little bit of a lot. A quality business, higher service, deeper dive, you're often having a bigger profit margin, but yet you can't do the same amount of volume. See, everybody tries to combine the two,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's
That's
the
where
goal.
trouble happens.
And that's exactly where trouble happens, right? And there's nothing wrong with either. It's just fundamentally for the individual to decide what kind of model do you want?
Yeah.
Like I'll never forget, a long time ago, I was in Kansas City doing a presentation. Probably you guys have heard of who Don Conley is. So Don Conley is presenting before me, and I'm obviously representing Getting Results, and Don Conley is obviously representing Don Conley. Great storyteller, great speaker, etc. But when Don is up there, he says, "Hey, you can have access to me at any time. Anytime. It's $25.95 a month. You just got to go to donconley247.com, right? donconley247.com. Now, for any of you out there, if you go to donconley247.com, do you think you're actually going to talk to Don Conley and Don Conley's going to say, hey, how's your business? What's going on? Maybe. I mean, maybe, but think of the model, right? Right? That's a quantity model. Now, with Getting Results, we are not $24.97 per month, and we are much more expensive than that, right? And
Right.
it's for a reason, because you have a one-on-one relationship with a coach. right? It's quality. We know who you are. We know your kids, what you're up to, what your hobbies are, how to weave your hobbies into your
Everything.
business, how to make more
Yep.
money, right? We're here to enhance you. So we have natural constraints on our business. It's called time, right? There are only so many clients we can handle. Like with Don Collins, he can scale them, right? Because you're getting the cookie cutter approach, and that's what happens with a lot of coaching programs out there is that you follow a magic manual or you follow the app, you follow, here's my 10-step program. If you follow these 10 steps, you'll get the same results I do. All cute, but that's a form of scale. That's in quantity. Quality, on the other hand, one-on-one, going deeper. Just think about the relationships that you want to have with your clients. Do you want to be very important to fewer people, or do you want to be like my guy to thousands of people? Now, the thousands of people sounds sexy, right? It sounds, wow, yeah, that's where we can make a lot of money.
Very
Yes,
surface.
yeah, it's surface. Once again,
Surface.
it depends on your business. Everybody knows about Fisher Investments, or if you haven't heard of Fisher Investments, you've probably received a mailer from Fisher Investments once, twice, 400 times
A lot of
in your life.
ads.
Yeah, a lot of ads, right? That's a quantity. They're scaling by quantity. Once again, there's nothing wrong with that. It just depends on what you want as an individual. Right? So if you're really good at managing people and you have a CEO skill set, okay, we may want to step up to a more of a quantity business. You're going to have 5 or 10 or 50 advisors underneath of you. Or perhaps that doesn't turn you on at all. You're like, man, no, I'd rather have core relationships and go deep with people. Well, that's awesome too. It's just be clear on what your fundamental model is because it'll make a world of difference for you.
Yep. Yep. No doubt, because you can't be everything to all clients. And if you're trying that quantity, that where I think people really catch a lot of trouble is when they're trying to be everything to everyone and they have 600 clients that they're trying to give equal service to.
Right,
It's
equal service to it,
impossible.
right? And right there you said the danger. It's not only is it impossible, but those 600 clients are not paying you
Right.
equally. And as a matter of fact, they don't like you equally either. Right. So I'm going to submit if you have 600 clients, maybe 120 are really loyal and they like you and they take
Right.
your advice, etc. Right? The other ones, here's the danger of it. It gives you something to do. Okay. Like if you've listened to our podcast, we say this all the time. You are the sun, whatever you shine upon shall grow. What you give your attention to, you get more
More.
of.
Yep.
Now you have to ask yourself, who's ever across from you at your desk, right? If you're doing appointments, they're sitting in that chair, how did they get to the chair? Like, are they in the chair by design that you are specifically wanting them to be in the chair, or are they showing up randomly? Because who's ever in that chair is also seeping into your future, right? They're seeping. Now I know
Mm.
and I use that word purposely because it's kind of a creepy word, right?
Yeah.
A seep, right? It's a slow drip, right? Much like that whole mediocre middle thing I talked about, the zeitgeist of the non-performers. Achievement or that next level is not part of the lexicon. So mindfulness, right? Mindfulness, awareness.
Yep.
So what you get, so once again, what you give your attention to, you get more of. So with your business, if you're in a state of complaint or you're always looking at everything that's not working and everything that can be improved and how everything is under par, guess what you get more of? You know, especially if you're coming from a corporate environment where they rate you on your skill sets, that 360-degree analysis, they look at your strengths and weaknesses, and they say, man, Ken, here are your strengths, but here are your weaknesses. Let's bring them up to par. Let's bring up all your weaknesses. So it makes you really nice, round, and mediocre, a good solid C. Instead of really looking, okay, where are you a mutant? Where is that skill set through the roof? And if you're listening to this podcast and you're in financial services, I I almost know beyond a shadow of a doubt where that skill set is. It's in rainmaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's getting out there and getting people to do things that they normally wouldn't do, like invest. Okay. That's the magic, right? That's the tip of the spear concept. And the more time you spend in that arena, then that fuels or gives the fuel, gives the ability to make all that other stuff work.
So, Super Coach, so what we're saying is it's important to know what structure you're a part, right? First off, do you want to be in the quantity business or the quality business? Get really clear on that, right? As part
Yep,
of your design. And then once you've understood that, then that next thing is, right, so then what does your day-to-day plan or activity look like in order to drive whatever result you're looking for in either of those type of buckets, right? But
yep,
right, and then what we're saying is either or, whichever one you choose, still the more likely super mutant skill you have is about getting out and rainmaking in either situation,
yep, yep,
right?
yep. Or you have a CEO skill set,
Yep.
right? That you deal with that you have the ability to deal with complexity that most other human beings don't. Right? For the hard truth is CEOs get paid a lot of money for a reason,
Mm.
right? And that reason is they can deal with levels of complexity that most of us normal people can't. And this is not an ego conversation. This is about tell the truth to yourself. What would you rather do? Build relationships, create opportunity, or run multiple segments of business.
And coach
Monitor
and
systems,
right.
force, right? Or
Yep.
hire those people to
Manage.
do,
Yep.
or hire those people to do those things. And once again, there's nothing wrong with either path or any path. Just the challenge is in choosing the path. Now, we also mentioned, okay, freedom isn't free. So it also becomes, okay, what are your objectives? And are they really yours? So usually, right, we'll go do a presentation and talk to people that usually want one or two things, or maybe even both. Either more time or more money.
Money.
Okay. Time, more money, or sometimes they're really greedy and they say both. And I want both. I want more time. I want to work less and I want to make more money. The cool part is it's possible. Okay. It's possible. But the hard part is defining what more actually means. Because more has another, I think it's called a synonym. That's spice. Synonym.
Synonym. Yes.
Synonym. A synonym. A synonym for more is also called infinity. It's infinity. More, because once again, more, if I said, all you smart people out there, draw me a picture of more, suddenly your brain will confuse itself and say, I can't because it's an infinite. Now,
Right.
you may have heard us say this in the past. If I say, okay, if you go 50 miles into infinity, how far did you go? Everybody's like, oh, I went 50 miles. No, the real answer is you went nowhere. It's infinite.
Nowhere.
There is no time and space. So without specific objectives, you're trying to achieve more. What that really leads to is frustration and distraction because you never quite know if you made it or not, if you've taken ground, etc. And then if we throw on top of this that the game can't be won, it's only played. Now, a lot of firms will jigger stuff up and say, okay, here's your ranking systems, right? And the ranking system means something. Well, it only means something if you choose it to mean something.
Right.
And once again, we said earlier, freedom is not free, right? Freedom is earned. So you choose if that matters to you or not. But then also ask yourself a deeper question. Why would firms have a ranking system? Wait a minute. Well, and sometimes people say, well, Ken, I really need to know where I stand. I judge, well, literally, how that translates is I judge my self-worth in comparison to others.
Others.
Okay, and quick lesson out here. If you judge your self-worth in comparison to others, you are going to suffer because newsflash, others are not the same as you. They have a different path, they have a different life, they have a different family. But they're doing 4 million in production and I'm only doing 2. I want to do 4.
And that goes back to that brainwashing, which isn't the good brainwashing that you were talking about
Yes.
earlier.
Yes,
That's
thank
someone
you.
else washing your brain, which can be very painful because now you're trying to keep up with others and to your
Yes.
point, who have a totally different path, experience, goals, whatever it is, and yet you're trying to match them even though there's no
Like
reason to.
Like, who's washing your brain? I'll never forget one time I was in Jersey going into an office. I won't name offices, but literally there was a fist fight in the parking lot about a parking space, about this guy's name was on the space, but somebody else was parking in his space. And how dare so and so park in
Do you
Mr.
know who I
Big's space?
am?
Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?
And then the fight over tile count is real and it's
Mm-hmm.
true.
Yeah.
Once again, there's nothing wrong with brainwashing. Just wash your own brain. Like, what is important to you? What is your design? What are you bringing into existence? Because freedom is not free. You have to earn it. Because if you do not define it for yourself, somebody else will. And if
Yep.
somebody else defines it for you, they're defining it for you because it is in their best interest to define it for you.
Yes.
So, and that's the thing to be wary of. Okay, and once again, there's nothing wrong with more production. Right, you want to produce as much as you choose, right? Not as much as you can, as much as you choose. Right? There's a difference there.
There's also the option that maybe I'm making what I want to make, but I want to do other things. I have a deeper purpose. Well, your firm is going to keep you on a leaderboard either way. So, like, how do you compete on the same level with someone else if your purpose is different as well? Like, it might not be about a leaderboard anymore. It's about what am
Could
I
be a
about?
big,
What am I
you know,
doing? Like, how
or
much time? Like, what causes am I taking advantage of? What's my bigger purpose in life?
right, or making an impact on your community or your family.
Right.
Now, then the great irony is, which I didn't mention earlier, and I said there's two fundamental choices you need to make for your business. You want to create more time or create more money, or do you want to do both? Okay. No matter which one you choose or combination if you choose, right? Most people say, okay, I want to make more money. Cool. All right. Then the next question is much more money. Okay. Once that's clear, and then you begin to build the systems and structures to hit it. It's just simply a game, right? It
Mm-hmm.
becomes a game.
Yep.
Then that other one is time. Okay, now people think, well, if I'm going to create more time for myself, that means I'm going to sacrifice income or my business is not going to grow at the same pace. Ironically, that is not true. Okay, so for you to create more time, that time concept acts as a catalyst for the system. You have to figure things out if you're going to be out of the office 3 days a week,
Right.
or 1 month, excuse me, 1 week out of the month, or 6 months out of the year. I don't care what it is, but it's possible though. Okay, once again, but as you figure that out, that catalyst, that figuring pours into the rest of the business because the business has to become more efficient as well as more effective without you. Because you are the biggest bottleneck to your business. Okay, and which is sort of mind wrapping at times. Like, how could I be the biggest bottleneck to the business? I'm the driver, I'm the rainmaker, I'm the motive power. All true, all true, but yet you are still that biggest bottleneck. And it becomes that inquiry of, okay, how do you figure out how to remove you, if that's what you choose? But the cool part is it's the catalyst, right? It gets the thinking, it gets things moving. What most people will default to is, okay, if I'm doing 1 million in production, I want to go to 2 million in production, which is okay. But an interesting thing happens when you hit 2 million in production. You're like, okay, if I can do two, why don't I do three? And then you go to three. It's once again nothing wrong with that stuff. But another interesting inquiry could be, okay, I'm going to go to 2 million in production, but I'm only going to work half the amount of time. Now that becomes an interesting puzzle
Yes.
to begin to embrace. Now, bad news is the answer is not going to come to you in 3 days, 30 days, or even maybe even 6 months. But you'd be amazed on how much ground you could take in a year or 2 years or in 5 years. In 5 years, you'll figure that shit out.
I think the biggest impediment to that is just it's limited to what you believe you can do and what you believe where you're at right now. Like, some people believe I can't quite do any more than I've already got. I'm already jammed and I'm already right, or
All right,
whatever it might be, that they don't
yeah,
see it. But that, to your point, it takes some time. You got to look, and sometimes you might have to just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take half of Fridays off to start, and let's fill
Yep.
that, and let's make the adjustments we need to make. Let's
Right.
adjust to that. Let's make the improve. Great. All right, now let's take all of Friday off. That kind of thing.
Slow start.
Yeah, it might not seem it on the surface. It might seem impossible based on your current schedule. Yeah, of course, because that's probably why you want more time, because you are so busy. We'll call it
Busy. And
busy,
spot
busy.
on, right? And go back to, where did those beliefs come from in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it came from the great Zeitgeist, or the great middle, those earning between 40,000 and 113,000, right? That's the mass market. That's the conversation of our country that insidiously seeps into our skulls about what's possible. That we've all been conditioned to make a lot of money, that you have to work hard, right? And you have to work all the time.
In a lot of hours. Yeah.
Just what if that wasn't true? I'm not saying it's not true. I'm simply saying, well, what if? Right? Just what if? Like, what can be possible? And once again, freedom, where does that come from? Okay, and how do you know that you are free? Right, now you can declare it, you can choose your own targets, you choose your own design. I'll submit that what freedom is the commitment to your design, of bringing your design into existence.
Right.
Without sounding too heady here. Once again, to the right on the bell curve, you're not normal. You can't expect the general media culture to know what you're up to. Like, if
Mm.
you've ever seen interviews with the Elon Musk, right? Or I've been actually watching Mr. McMahon on Netflix, and Mr. McMahon is different. He has to be. He's a billionaire. He has to be, right? Extreme performance requires extreme personality. They are outliers. Okay? So if you want to be an outlier, you have to think and act differently.
All right, Super Coach, as we wrap up today's podcast, any other thoughts before we let everyone go on their way today?
I think the big thought is, who's washing your brain?
Hmm.
Are you washing your brain, or is somebody else, or is something else? And if you wash your own brain, then hey, then remember, it's all made up anyway. Everything is made up, right? Like, what's important to you is made up by you. So just be clear that you're the one who's in the design chair or the design seat, instead of somebody else, or instead of some unknown entity, like some amorphous thing that's out there, that one day you're going to figure it out. Like, one day, I don't know, you're going to make your dad proud of you, and your dad's been dead 20 years. Like, that's a little weird, right? Nothing wrong with it, just a little weird.
I think that's important clarity on this is, who's washing the brain, and that's how you'll know, are you the one in charge? Are you the one controlling? Are you following a design? And if you're not, then you know you're being brainwashed by someone else, and you're following someone else's plan.
Bam.
All right, Super Coach, great stuff. As always hitting it hard, and hitting it right to the point. So to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's podcast and got value from it, please be sure to share and follow our podcast. Hit the like button or give us a rating. We can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and gettingresultsinc.com under our resources. Tune in next week for our next episode. Be great.